I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You got many places to be tonight, but chose to be here with me, and for that I am forever grateful. I'm a little under the weather today. I woke up today with a runny nose and a sore throat and just kind of feeling yucky. I'm hoping it's just the change in the weather, because we've gone from 32 degrees at night to 72 degrees at night, then back down to 34 degrees to 84 degrees. It's absolutely insane what's happening with the weather conditions down here in southwest Louisiana. But anyhow, I'm going to power through this. Also, want to let everybody know that we are going back to the border probably this coming spring or summer. Summer at the latest. I would like to get there probably in the spring, about the first part of May, middle of May, so that we're not in 110 degree heat during this next border tour. For those of you that are unfamiliar with what we do when we go down there, you can see our border documentaries that we did prior to COVID breaking out at douglasducote.com, and I believe some of them are also up on this channel as well that you can check out. So in the community section of this channel, as well as on numerous places across the social media platforms that I'm on, a notices went out talking about the tour and what we're going to be looking for, and some of you can volunteer if you fit into the criteria of what we need. And donations are greatly appreciated. We do not have the money that the big news medias have to be able to go out and do this kind of stuff. And all of us that do it on a volunteer basis. And we do it because we love this country and we want you, the American people, to know the facts and the truth about what's happening out there. Okay, so let's get right into tonight's lead story. Former President Donald Trump, as you all know, is the subject of several major investigations as he forges ahead with his 2024 campaign, including probes by the New York District Attorney on supposedly hush money payments to porn slut Stormy Daniels, and by the Justice Department in D.C. on classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago. Of course, we also know there are classified documents found all over the damn place associated with our current president. The grand jury investigating the hush money scheme did not hear the case when it was supposed to convene today, pushing the probe into next week. I don't think they're going to get together tomorrow. Latest I heard, it was going to be next week. Trump had said last week he expected to be arrested this Tuesday, March 21st, based off of leaks from the DA's office. But no decisions on charges have been made by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Now, District Attorney Alvin Bragg came out today and he slammed a House GOP inquiry about the upcoming probe they're going to be doing, saying it was motivated by Trump creating false expectations of immediate arrest, even though his office was leaking such information, leading to Trump to believe the arrest was coming. Now, what was Bragg responding to? Well, he was responding to a very well-written letter from the House, from Jim Jordan, who was the leader of this. And I've got it right here, which I will share with you shortly. Now, If Trump is indicted, what happens? Federal law enforcement sources told CNN's John Miller yesterday that Trump's Secret Service detail is actively engaged with authorities in New York City about how this arrest process would work, because they can't just go in and arrest a former president. It's usually a routine process of fingerprinting, mugshot, and arraignment, as well as you're handcuffed. But per this politically motivated DA and DOJ and FBI, it would also require Trump being physically arrested, Miranda rights given, and they would love to see him in handcuffs as he's being led away. Now, it would not likely be a public event, although again, look at what our DOD and FBI have done in the past with Republicans and conservatives. They tip off the liberal news media, such as CNN, and they're already in place with cameras rolling, as they did, for instance, with Roger Stone. But the Secret Service, who is responsible for the president and former president's security, has made it clear that they will not allow, under any circumstances, any law enforcement agency to place Donald Trump in handcuffs, and made it clear they will remain at his side during the entire process if they're going to do this. Trump would be fingerprinted, a mugshot would be taken, and then released with no bail. New York does not release mugshots after a 2019 law intended to cut down on online extortion, but you can rest assured that would not be the case with Donald Trump, because the whole thing is politically motivated, and it's just one more attempt to smear and embarrass Trump, his family, and his supporters. Could Trump ever go to jail? First, he'd have to be indicted, tried, and convicted. Any indictment, even for a Class E felon in New York, would be for a kind of nonviolent offense that would lead to probably no jail time for any defendant. I don't expect Trump to be put in jail if he is indicted for any of these charges. Jail time would only come if he was convicted and sentenced to jail time. That being said, then it would be up to the Secret Service to make arrangements that would be pretty logistically challenging to be there with him 24/7, because they would have to be in the jail or prison with the man. You don't just leave him out there to dry, as the liberals and Democrats would like to do. Today, Trump remained defiant as the probe by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office continued into his accused role as the alleged hush money payment scheme nears its final stages. And potential indictment of Trump is still looming. Trump claimed he was 100% innocent in a post on a social media website, Truthsocial, today, and claimed Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg was taking orders from the radical left. He also said, "Our country is being destroyed as they tell you to be peaceful," Trump wrote in all caps in the post. Look, there are so many things that I could say about Donald Trump that I didn't like while he was president, as well as any president, whether it was the Bushes or Obama, or even Ronald Reagan did some things that I wasn't happy with. But this is absolute insanity, the road they're going down here. Trying to piece all this together, well, what a shit show. And I'm sure next week it's going to get even more interesting. Now, what is this letter that Bragg is talking about? Directed to Mr. Alvin L. Bragg Jr., District Attorney, New York County, 1 Hogan Place, New York, 10013. It reads, "Dear Mr. Bragg, you are reportedly about to engage in an unprecedented abuse of prosecutorial authority, the indictment of a former president of the United States and current declared candidacy for that office. This indictment comes after years of your office searching for a bias, any bias, on which to bring charges, ultimately settling on a novel legal theory untested anywhere in the country, and one that federal authorities declined to pursue already. If these reports are accurate, your actions will erode confidence in the even-handed application of justice and untellable interference in the course of the 2024 presidential election. In light of the serious consequences of your action, we respect that you will testify about what plainly appears to be a politically motivated prosecutorial decision on your part. And as you all know, the House is now controlled by the Republicans, and they have the authority to subpoena him and bring his ass in there to get grilled. New York County District Attorney's Office has been investigating President Trump since at least 2018, looking for some legal theory on which to bring charges. The facts surrounding the impending indictment have been known for years. Michael Cohen, President Trump's disgraced former lawyer, pleaded guilty over 4 years ago to charges based on the same facts at issue in this impending indictment. By July 2019, however, federal prosecutors determined that no additional people would be charged alongside of Michael Cohen. Now, in the words of one legal scholar, you are attempting to shoehorn the same case with identical facts into a new prosecution, resurrecting the so-called zombie case against President Trump. Even the Washington Post quoted legal experts as calling your action unusual because prosecutors have repeatedly examined the long-established details but decided not to pursue charges. The legal theory underlying your reported prosecution appears to be tenuous and untested, bringing charges for falsifying business records and ordinarily a misdemeanor, subject to a 2-year statute of limitations, would have long ago expired. State law, however, allows a district attorney to elevate normal misdemeanor conduct to a felony charge if the intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission therefore. Such a showing would extend the statute of limitations to 5 years, which would likely expire soon, as though explains your rush to indictment. The only potential speculated crime that could be alleged here would be a violation of campaign finance laws, according to one scholar, a charge that the Justice Department has already declined to bring. In addition to the novel and untested legal theory, your star witness for the prosecution has a serious credibility problem, a problem that you have reportedly recognized yourself. This case relies heavily on the testimony of Michael Cohen, a convicted perjurer with a demonstrable perjuries against President Trump. Cohen pleaded guilty to lying to Congress in 2018. In 2019, when he testified before Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to aid their fruitless investigations into President Trump, Cohen lied yet again. 6 times during that hearing, he lied. Cohen has been vocal about his deeply personal animus towards President Trump. Under these circumstances, there is no scenario in which Cohen could fairly be considered an unbiased and credible witness in the American justice system. An inference from the totality of these facts is that your impending indictment is motivated by political calculations. In January of 2022, soon after you took office, you expressed doubts yourself about President Trump's case and suspended the investigation. This decision caused 2 of your top investigators, Kerry Dunn and Mark Pomerantz, to resign in protest and publicly denounce your work. Pomerantz, in particular, heavily criticized you for declining to bring charges at the time, and Dunn and others are now weighing ways to bar President Trump from holding future office. Pomerantz has published a book in the past month, excoordinating you and not aggressively prosecuting Trump, as you're doing now. The Washington Post reported that you were deeply stung by his criticism. The facts of this matter have not changed since 2018, and no new witnesses have emerged. The Justice Department examined the facts in 2019 and opted to not pursue further prosecutions at that time. Even still, according to the report, the investigation gained some momentum this year, and your office convened a new grand jury in January to elevate the issue. The only intervening factor, it appears, was President Trump's announcement that he would be a candidate for president in 2024. Your decision to pursue such a politically motivated prosecution while adopting progressive criminal justice policies that allow career criminals to run the streets of Manhattan requires congressional scrutiny about how public safety funds appropriated by Congress are implemented by local law enforcement agencies, sir. In addition, your apparent decision to pursue criminal charges where federal authorities decline to do so requires oversight to inform potential legislative reforms about the delegation and prosecutorial authority between federal and local officials. Finally, because the circumstances of this matter stem in part from Special Counsel Mueller's investigation, Congress may consider legislative reforms to the authorities of special counsels and their relationship with other prosecuting entities. Accordingly, to advance our oversight, please produce the following documents and information for the period of January 1st, 2017 to present. And this is what the House wants. All documents and communication between or among the New York County District Attorney's Office and the U.S. Department of Justice, its component entities, or other federal law enforcement agencies referring or relating to your office investigation of President Donald Trump. Number 2, all documents and communications sent or received by former employees, Kerry Dunn and Mark Proves, referring or relating to President Donald Trump. And all documents and communications referring or relating to the New York County District Attorney's Office receipt and use of federal funds. In addition, your testimony is necessary to advance our oversight and to inform potential legislative reforms. We therefore ask that you testify in a transcript interview about these matters as soon as possible. Please provide this information and contact committee staff to schedule your transcribed interview as soon as possible, but no later than 10 a.m. on March 23rd, 2023. And today is March 23rd, 2023. They sent this letter 2 days ago. Pursuant to Rule X of the Rules of the House of Representatives, the Committee of the Judiciary over Criminal Justice Matters in the United States, the Committee on House Administration over matters concerning federal elections, the Committee on Oversight and Accountability may examine any matter at any time. If you have any questions about this request, please contact the committee staff, and they give a phone number here. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. Signed by, sincerely, Jim Jordan, Brian Steele, and James Comer, all members of the House Investigative Committee. And as of 8:19 p.m. today, we do not know if Mr. Bragg did that. We will probably find out later tonight, or we will find out tomorrow if that information was turned over. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that not a single page of it was turned over as requested by Congress. For years, President Joe Biden has maintained a quote from the TV series Hogan's Heroes by the German Nazi Sergeant Schultz defense of "I know nothing," to counter allegations that his family has profiteered on influence peddling with foreign countries and companies. Despite mounting evidence to the contrary, Biden maintains that he knows nothing about Hunter Biden's business deals. He recently doubled down on his defense by even denying that family members received any money from foreign sources. He repeated his denial even after the release of the financial transfer reports from his own administration showing millions of dollars transferred from China. Now, emails have emerged that show that Biden personally helped draft responses to the controversial details in 2015 when he was then vice president. It also appears that Biden officials, like former White House Communication Director Kate Bedingfield, knew of his role even as the president continued to deny any involvement. The National Archives has now released emails that show that then Vice President Joe Biden approved an official statement in December of 2015 about Hunter Biden's position on a Ukrainian energy company's board. Biden has denied any knowledge of the involvement in these business dealings at least 7 times as a presidential candidate and as president. For years, the media has continued to report President Biden's repeated claim that I have never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings, which we all now know, thanks to Hunter Biden being on meth and crack and whatever else he was on, by leaving his laptop and it coming into the hands of good people to turn it over to the right people, that Joe Biden is a liar. At the onset, the media only had to suspend any disbelief that the president could fly to China as a vice president with his son on Air Force Two without discussing his planning business dealings on the trip. Of course, the emails on the laptop quickly refuted this claim. However, the media buried the laptop story before the election or pushed the false claim that it was fake Russian disinformation. Even our own FBI pushed that narrative to the social media companies. Some of the media have repeated those denials, including most recently the Associated Press, falsely stated there was no evidence Biden ever discussed the deals with his son despite an actual audio tape, provided that the claim is actually true. He did. He was completely in on everything taking place with his son's dealings in China and in Ukraine. The audio tape shows President Biden leaving a message for Hunter discussing coverage of those dealings. It states, he says in the audio tape, "Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, just give me a call. Nothing urgent. I just want to talk to you. I thought the article released online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think you're clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call. I love you." Some of us have written for 2 years that President Biden's denial of knowledge is potentially false. It was equally evident that the Biden family was selling influence and access. There are emails of Ukraine and other foreign clients thanking Hunter Biden for arranging meetings with his father. There are photos from dinners and meetings that tie President Biden to these figures, including a 2015 dinner with a group of Hunter Biden Russian clients, all of which Joe Biden claims never happened. People apparently were told to avoid directly referring to President Biden. In one email, Tony Bopolowski, then a business partner of Hunter, was instructed by Biden associate James Giller not to speak of the former VP's connection to any transaction. Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when we are face to face. I know you know that, but we're paranoid. Instead, the emails apparently referred to President Biden with code names such as Selleck or the big guy. In one, the big guy is discussed as possibly receiving a 10% cut on a deal with a Chinese energy firm. Other emails reportedly referred to Hunter Biden paying portions of his father's expenses and taxes. Bobulinski has given multiple interviews in which he stated that he met twice with Joe Biden to discuss business dealings in China with the CEFC China Energy Company. Joe Biden claims the meeting never took place. That would seem obvious evidence. In addition, the New York Post reported on a key email that discusses the proposed percentage distributing of equity in a company created for a joint venture with CEFC China Energy Company. That was the email on March 13th of 2017 that included references 10 held by H for the big guy. The new emails show that as early as 2015, Bedingfield told Hunter's top financial lieutenant, Eric Schwarman, via email that Joe Biden approved a statement regarding Hunter's board position. Yet for years, Biden's communication office and himself continues to repeatedly deny any involvement or any knowledge of any of this ever taken place. That stands in contradiction to Bedingfield's 2015 email acknowledging that the vice president signed off on this. We'll give this quote to reporters in the name shortly. Bedingfield left the White House earlier this year. The White House has continued to categorically denies. When confronted by Fox News' Peter Doocy on the transfer record showing millions sent from China, White House Press Secretary Catherine Jean-Pierre responded, "Look, I'm just not going to respond to that from here. Look, we have heard from House Republicans for years and years and years how the inaccuracies and lies when it comes to the issue. And I don't even know where to begin to even answer that question because, again, it's been lies and lies and inaccuracy from the past couple of years, and I'm just not going to get into that. The only reason that Biden would even attempt to maintain this clearly false defensive is that he could count on supportive media to blunt any attacks and limited inquiries. Of course, there is the difference with the Sergeant Schultz defense from Hogan's Heroes. The character in the famed sitcom was harmless and comical. The Biden influence peddling allegations is neither. Despite the striking lack of interest from many in the media, this is about millions of dollars paid to the first family by foreign sources, including some with foreign intelligence ties. Influence peddling has long been the favorite form of corruption in Washington, D.C. While many Democrats repeatedly stress that influence peddling is not criminal, it is corrupt, and the Bidens appear to be in a class all by themselves. Yet, even with the clear contradiction of the president's repeated statements to the public, Democrats still oppose any investigation into the alleged influence peddling. What made Sergeant Schultz funny is precisely why the Biden defense is collapsing. The refusal of the media to see what is now in plain view, and it won't convince them. At some point, Democrat leaders will have to recognize the obvious or join the Bidens and many journalists in the cast of this theater that is absurd. Now, one thing that the House continues, for whatever freaking reason, to just blow past, and I don't understand it, and it needs to be, they need to zero in on this. And I've sent emails after emails, and I've made phone calls after phone calls to Jordan's office and the Speaker of the House, is you have to tie into this Joe Biden's own words, which you can see right here on YouTube, by the way. It's not been scrubbed, where he talks openly about the Ukraine deals that his son was involved with and how Ukrainian prosecutor wanted to go after Hunter Biden because of corruption issues. They were going to put Hunter Biden in jail. And Joe Biden, then vice president of the United States, told Ukraine Either you fire that prosecutor or America will be withholding our next payments to you, as we were doing to beef them up and eventually, slowly, one day, bring them into NATO. That in itself is a criminal offense. It is a felony. What he did is wrong. That needs to be, in my mind, front and center of this case. Because there's Joe Biden himself talking about and bragging about how he got this prosecutor fired that was going after his son. Or America will withhold monies that were promised to Ukraine. Why these Republicans are not taking that piece and putting it front and center right now, I don't understand. But I'm not going to let off on it, and I hope that you won't either by contacting your representatives. And hey, look it up right here on YouTube and watch Joe Biden himself brag about this, how happy he is that he did this. Shit that just makes you go, what? What did he say? How is that even possible? But he did. That's the whole crux of this. He did. And of course now denies that he ever knew anything about what his son was doing. Well, when you got him on video right here on YouTube, it's done. Stick a fork in it. Moving on. Why is it that we have criminals continuously getting arrested, like a revolving door in our justice system? Like they commit a crime, carjacking, or shooting someone, or armed robbery, or rape, or attacking someone. They get arrested, they get thrown in jail, and within a matter of hours or days, they're back out on the fucking street again with a ridiculous low bail, and then they commit an offense again, and they go right back into jail. It just continues. It's a never-ending cycle. Well, it's because liberal judges don't hold them accountable for their actions, period. Point in case, the Houston suspect accused of paralyzing a mother of 3 by body slamming her during a robbery on February 13th. And you can see the actual video tonight. It's on Fox Digital. He had his bond cut in half yesterday. It was set at $200,000 and they dropped it to $100,000, according to Harris County, Texas court records. Now, who is this little delinquent? His name is Joseph Harrell. He's a 17-year-old black youth. He was arrested last week after police released the surveillance video of the incident in which he followed the victim 24 miles on foot from a bank before body slamming her to the ground and stealing the $4,300 in cash that she had withdrawn from the bank. After his arrest for aggravated robbery, prosecutors asked for a $200,000 bond, citing the fact that he had just been released from jail on a $100 bond on January 26 for an unlawful carrying of a weapons charge. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried. While on bond for unlawfully carrying a handgun, Harrell stole money from the victim and assaulted her, causing the victim to have broken ribs, a fractured spine, and she's paralyzed. Serious bodily injury. The $200,000 bond was granted on March 17th, but then Judge Christy Guiney, Guiney, lowered the bond to $100,000 shortly before noon yesterday. An attorney appointed to defend Harrell, Catherine Evans, said that she made an oral motion to reduce his bond. Evans said, "I requested a bond considerably lower than what judge actually set, and informed her that the client's family was currently unable to make his bond. Oh, wow. Why? Are you fucking serious? Who gives a shit? He's a goddamn career-long criminal. And the judge should look at all of his rap sheet, which we know they did. It was there in front of them. Additionally, it was confirmed the bond conditions are in place that would place Mr. Harrell on a 24-hour house arrest and require him to wear a GPS monitor should family members be able to post significant bonds at some point in the future. Now, I assure you, if this family can't come up with 10% of 200,000, they probably can't come up with 10% of 100,000. And if they did, this kid doesn't give a shit about that monitor. He's going to cut it off. He doesn't care about house arrest. He's back out on the street again, committing another crime. And they're never going to get their money back in the bail system. Aside from the aggravated robbery on February 13th and unlawful carrying of a weapon charge, let's go back to January 26th. Harrell is also facing a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon stemming from an incident that happened on February 25th. Why are you letting this piece of shit back out on the street? I guess what? When he hurts one of your family members, then you'll get it. That's what it's going to take, sadly, to get these fucking dumbass liberal Democrats to get it through their head how bad this is. When one of your family members or you personally are attacked by one of these fuckers, then and only then is it going to sink into that pea brain in your head that this is a bad fucking idea to let them back out on the street again. In that incident, Harrell and at least one other accomplice robbed a woman of her purse while the victim was leaving a business in Southeast Houston, according to the public calls affidavit. Later that day, the woman and her husband tracked the suspect to an address using her AirPods that were left in her purse. When they arrived at the address, the woman recognized Harrell standing outside and called 911. While waiting for police to arrive, Harrell drove by them and asked if they needed something. They replied that they didn't, at which point Harrell turned around. As he was passing them, defendant Harrell pointed a black handgun at her head. Charges were filed in the case on March 16th. Harrell is now being held on a combination of a $130,000 bond for aggravated robbery on February 13th, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon on February 25th. The victim in the February 13th incident, Nan Hung Truong, was discharged from the hospital on March 17th after over a month in the hospital in intensive care. A GoFundMe has raised more than $300,000 for her recovery. And her recovery, according to doctors, could take approximately 2 years. It's a revolving door. Our justice system, just like everything else, our FBI, our DOJ, our DAs, our judges, every branch of government, our schools, businesses have all been infiltrated by far left liberal ideology. And it happened right in front of our face. As I reported last Tuesday night's show, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Putin on war crimes against Ukraine. One of Putin's closest confidants, a personal friend, threatened to launch an immediate nuclear strike against any country that attempts to arrest the Russian leader. On Russian state TV, Vladimir Slavorsky spoke out to warn that any attempt to implement the warrant is a declaration of war. His surprise threats came during a broadcast aired after the ICC accused Putin of unlawful deportation of Ukrainian children aimed at the ongoing Russian-Ukrainian war. According to Daily Star, Putin's Coney friend, began his remarks by targeting Germany and German justice minister. In accordance with ICC's arrest warrant against Putin, they agreed, Germany did, to arrest the Russian leader should he enter their nation. Germany will be obligated to arrest Putin if he enters Germany territory and hand him over to The Hague. Shortly thereafter, Putin's friend took to state-run Russia One channel to make his immediate nuclear strike threats against those countries that would arrest Putin. It calls for an immediate nuclear strike on that country. Putin's ally fumed during the broadcast. Immediately, it calls for a nuclear strike. That to say, he continued, any attempt to do it, to go against the will of the Russian people, which has made itself very clear, must result in a nuclear missile strike. As RadarOneOnline.com previously reported, his recent threat to launch nuclear weapons at any country that attempted to arrest Putin came just days after fellow Putin ally Dmitry Medvedev also threatened to use nuclear weapons against Western countries. Last month, shortly after President Joe Biden announced that Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, Medvedev lashed out and claimed Russia is prepared to use nuclear weapons to defend themselves. After all, it is obvious to all reasonable forces that if the United States wants the defeat of Russia, then we are on the verge of a world conflict, he wrote. If the United States wants to defeat Russia, then we have the right to defend ourselves with any weapon, he added, including nuclear. Meanwhile, intelligence officials have predicted Putin would soon start using nuclear weapons due to the fact that his forces continue to be crushed on the front line by Ukrainian troops, supported by who? American military firepower. According to the current U.S. Director of National Intelligence, Averell Hayes, Putin will become even more reliant on options such as nuclear, cyber, space capabilities, and on China as he continues to lose the war in Ukraine. Now, make no mistake about it. We, America, are currently involved in World War III. It's happening right now. We are conducting a war with Russia via Ukraine. It's not our boots physically on the ground pulling triggers, but it's our equipment and our personnel training the Ukrainians to use it. And we're also supplying their fighter force with aerial refueling capability that our military members are flying, drones that our military personnel are flying, and other things that I won't go into because I know it's classified and I'm not going to share that and I can't share that. But through my sources and friends that are still in the military or connected with higher ups, we are actively engaged in fighting this war with Russia. If tomorrow Joe Biden said, that's it, we're not sending another dollar to Ukraine, we're not sending another piece of military equipment, within 30 days, Russia would run over that country and it would be in their control. It is not in their control. Why? Again, because we are supplying the beans, the bullets, the equipment for the Ukrainian forces to fight and keep their country. And some of our NATO forces. Germany is now going to send them battle tanks. Guess who else is? We are. We're going to be sending Ukraine M1s. We're going to train them how to use them. So there's no other way of putting this. We are actively involved in a world war with NATO, all American forces and NATO, against Russia and soon to be China. Because Russia now, their military is being destroyed because our equipment is destroying them. They're losing personnel. They're having to literally take people off the streets and force them into military service. And they're running out of equipment and beans and bullets. So they're turning to China. And China is now considering giving them what they need to continue to fight this war. One way or the other, even if China doesn't give them anything, we're backing an injured wild animal into a corner. He has the ability to launch nuclear weapons, and he talks about it like I talk about drinking coffee. The words are flowing out of everybody over there in their military higher ups, in his government, his friends, the TV stations. Just nuke the bastards. That's what they're talking about. All that being said, Ronald Reagan ended the Cold War. And that's been off our backs until Joe Biden became president of the United States. And it became very, very easy for the whole world to see that Joe Biden is a weak, feeble person that does not have the balls or the temperament or common sense, for that matter, to stand up to bullied countries. Regardless of what some of you may or may not have thought of Donald Trump, at least Donald Trump was an alpha male that stood up at a time that was needed to stand up. Drastically needed. Because coming off the 8 years of the Obama administration, all these countries, Iran, North Korea, Russia, China, started blustering up. And Trump came in and said some crazy shit. And they went, fuck, is he pulling our bluff? Or is he crazy? The American media is saying he's crazy. He will kick your ass if you do this, North Korea. He will kick your ass if you do this, Russia or China or Iran. And they back down. Well, all the news media and all the liberals and all the Democrats were saying he's going to get us killed. He's going to get us into World War III. Listen to what's coming out of his mouth. Guess what? It worked. That's what they needed to fucking hear. An alpha male stand up and say, no, you're not doing this shit. And if you do it, our military is going to kick off into your ass. That's what they listen to. Not this feeble son of a bitch that's walking around with his head up his ass and doesn't even know where the fuck he's going. If he's the president, he's constantly calling his vice president the president. He's saying all kinds of, he's trying to have a conversation about one thing, and next thing you know, he's talking about a fucking penguin. And it's like, well, what the fuck the penguin got to do with this? Where's he going with this? He's all over the place. Finishes up a speech and turns to shake hands with the air. I mean, and look, it's a mental problem, all right? Joe Biden has a mental problem. I'm not a doctor, but I'm also not a fucking idiot. That's common sense to watch him and listen to him. Something's mentally not there. I'm not making fun of those with mental problems, but that's what we have. Maybe it's dementia. Maybe it's Alzheimer's. I don't know. What I do know is anybody can sit here on YouTube and plug in Joe Biden giving a speech or Joe Biden gaffes and listen to what this guy is saying, which you don't see all over the news media because they don't cover it anymore. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's completely clueless. And that's who got elected. So would we be better off with Kamala Harris in that position? Oh, Hell no. But we got where we're at right now, back into the Cold War, and now World War III, whether they want to call it that or not, that's what it is, because of this administration's weakness and unwillingness to stand up to these bullies and say, fuck you. You do this, we're going to do this, and you're not going to like it. And the liberals and Democrats went, oh, that horrible orange hair guy. Oh my gosh, how dare he? Guess what? We could possibly be fucking nuked into annihilation tomorrow because of your naiveness of helping elect this motherfucker. Because that's where we're at. That's how scary this shit is. And the fucking news media, all of them need to step up their game and start reporting on how dangerous this shit is. And it's not just with them. It's our southern border too, for crying out loud, where our border patrol agents are physically catching people that are on the terrorist no-fly list because they got no other way to get into America. How many have they not caught? They're getting ready to do something to kill Americans if the MS-13 gang members aren't enough, or the cartels not enough. All of that by this current administration. Those that work in the CIA, those that work in the Department of Justice, those that work in the FBI, those that are the Joint Chiefs of Staff of our military need to pull their fucking heads out of their ass and wake the hell up and realize we're all about to get annihilated off the fucking planet because of this senile motherfucker and his administration that's more worried about whether transgenders can go into a fucking bathroom with the opposite sex or the same sex, or if they can have the surgery without their parents knowing about it. I mean, the shit that's coming out of the left is crazy. And that's all they fucking care about. They don't care about reality. And reality is we're in some fucked up times right now. I served during Ronald Reagan. When I went in the military, Ronald Reagan was my president. And I served in the beginning of the end of the Cold War as it was ending. And any veteran that served during the Cold War can tell you what a relief it was, because we were training to one day fight and probably die fighting against Russia and a nuclear conflict. And any veteran that served in that time can tell you what a huge mountain was lifted off our shoulders when the Cold War ended. And I'll be damned if we're not right back there once again because of this administration. Folks, you had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. If you haven't already done so, please like, subscribe, tell your family and friends about the channel. Also, check out my other channel, Charlie Hotel 47, in the description of this show and all my shows and all my videos. You can see the other places on social media that you can follow me. There will be an upcoming video, short little video put out about the upcoming border trip with more information about that I hope that you will share with your family and friends, and I hope that you will get involved. If you're able to donate or you're able to volunteer your time or services to be a part of this, be greatly appreciated. It's like I say, we do not have the funding that these big news media corporations have, and it requires a lot. But I'm willing to go down there free of charge and put my life on the line again with these cartels to show you the truth and to show you what CNN and MSNBC and the liberals and Democrats refuse to do. It's coming. It's going to happen. Hopefully it's going to be within the next 60 days. So stay tuned for that. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you. Appreciate you. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America and each and every one of you. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful and blessed evening, and I'll see you again next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Good night.